Hey, welcome in everybody to Pink's show. It's been a minute. We've needed to get back to this. It was more of an in-season thing, but we're going to be doing off-season content with this. Of course, my man Zach McKinnell helping me out with this, helping me with the film and producing everything, and getting back on track with this. I like the way it was going, man. Sometimes we had Alan on, sometimes it was just me. Looking for a sponsor maybe for this. So we're going to keep this thing rolling. And off-season content, I think, is going to be at a premium this year because, man, we got a lot of USF stuff to go through. Usually, this would be when we go through Auburn stuff, right? I don't see the point. Auburn's got an entirely new team. Now, of course, we'll do that on the corner and the bunker. We'll do a little bit of that. We'll go back and look at maybe what went wrong. I know you guys love doing that as much as I do. We get to a point in the summer where it's worth it. But I think it'll be important to do that with Auburn stuff. But for now, when we do film, we're going to be doing transfer portal guys that are coming in. Of course, we're about to be in spring practice, so we're actually going to get to see them in Auburn uniforms going against the guys that stayed, meshing with the new team. We're going to get to see the new coaching staff in action. And I'm fired up about that. I want to preview spring football a little bit here because you'll be watching this right before spring football starts. That's on Tuesday, March 17th. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing the practice structure of Alex Golesh and the staff he's assembled, which I think is really good. I think it's going to be really good on the field. I like what I've seen from these guys as recruiters so far. I think that's going to be good. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So I want to start just what I want to see from this staff, what I want to see from the new Auburn, right? It's got to be different, number one. It's got to be because let me think about how I want to say this. I don't want to dog the last staff too much because at the end of the day, I know a good bit about what's going on. Obviously, I'm, get to be inside the walls a lot. I get to see things that others don't, and I try to pass along anything that, should be passed along. That's the whole point of everything we're doing here. We want to be your plug, right? And I don't want to dog the last staff too much. I think I was pretty open and honest about when I saw things at practice that I was like, yeah, I just don't really love that based on what I know about the game of football, what I know about coaching, which is not even scratching the surface when it comes to the guys that are employed. So I don't want to sound like a punk or anything, but little things like watching Dylan Wade pass pro, they were working on like passing off a twist and he was still doing the same thing I saw on film that was an issue and it wasn't really being corrected. Maybe how the running backs were carrying the ball and some of the coaching points that I thought maybe were being missed and just the finer details, which this is a much longer conversation, but man, I think that's a pandemic across football anyway. Fundamentals are just kind of off to the wayside with this transfer portal. You don't want to get me started on that. Let's not even go there. But it's Indiana that comes out on top, and I think that was the most fundamentally sound team in the country. And at the end of the day, man, that's what football is. Yes, you got to have talent to go against the schedule Auburn's about to face. And you got to have a good amount of it. You got to have enough. You got to do things right though on the field. And even though Auburn's had talent in the past couple of years, man, they hadn't been doing things right. I've been watching bad football, just to put it quite frankly. And not always, but a lot of the time, yeah. And you just can't get away with it when you're playing against the schedule that Auburn plays against. I watched Indiana a lot, man. They didn't play bad football. They played good football. Even when they were down, even when they were, which wasn't much because they were crushing people, they just they were solid, always solid. They were just doing things right. They blocked right. They got their head on the right side. I mean, the small details. Carried the football right. They had good play callers to go along with it, and I think that's a big deal, which that's coming to Auburn. I think you're getting maybe a better offense coming. So I'm looking for, and this is spring, so it's kind of a weird time for me anyway, and that's been this topic, for coaches. Do you want to keep it in the spring or do you want to start pushing it to summer? To me, that makes more sense, man, because in summer, I mean, you're already there. You go right into fall camp from summer. I hate this big gap. I've always thought that was strange. Somebody's listening to this and going, man, you don't know nothing. That's the way it's supposed to be. Whatever. Okay. That's the way I see it. I think it would be better in the summer too. I agree with most coaches on that. I think they see it that way. But so you're not really looking for like overly physical because it's going to be a minute before they get in pads. They're going to be doing routes on air. They're going to be trying to learn install. That's what spring's about. It's about install. And boy, they got a lot of that coming because they got a lot of guys that don't know what's going on yet. They probably have an idea, but they're about to put it, on the field for the first time. Put it with the pads on. They're going to be putting it to the tempo, to the pace that they want in all of this, and not just on the board or in position meetings. Now, this is where bringing in all these guys from USF is such a big deal. They're ahead of the game. This is why we've talked a lot about the quarterback situation. And as much as I like Tristan Tia, and I really do think that guy's extremely talented, I think Lachlan Hewlett has a jump on him. I really think that Lachlan Hewlett might have a chance to be your backup quarterback, at least for a while. Okay, maybe Tia, the light bulb comes on with the offense pretty quick, and they see the arm talent, they see the running ability, and they go, that might be the guy. Might be the guy for next year. I wouldn't count Lachlan Hewlett out either. But you get my point. They're going to be ahead. They're going to be a step ahead during this portion. You hope by the time you get to fall that everybody's on the same page for the most part. USF guys still, they're more experienced in it, but everybody's got the knowledge, the ability to think and play without having to think so much, but also know what's going on. So, I want to see everybody catch on to things. I want to see them start getting into their tempo pretty quick, which we don't really see that much, but hearing about it, basically. I just want to see more structure, man. I want to see more fundamentals. I want to see a much more defined emphasis on getting those little things right, and it starts right here in the spring. And based on everything I know about Alex Golesh, this guy likes to have his hand in everything, not in a micromanaged way. He likes his coaches to be able to do their job and stay out of their way, but he holds you accountable. And I'm going to tell you that's sort of an unspoken thing in this big world of college football. What I mean by big world is not Huntington, where I come from. Huntington is on a small scale. I don't even count that, even though it is part of the NCAA Division III. I don't count it with this, what I would call a political world of football, college football in the SEC. You got a bunch of big timers, right? Guys that make a lot of money, that are coaching, that have been in a lot of places, a lot of big programs. Maybe some have been in the NFL. And, they kind of have this, and it's not their fault, but everybody's kind of left alone, I guess you would say. I don't think that's going to be the case with Alex Golesh, as we've heard him say. Practice is just as much for the coaches as it is for the players. We've heard him say this. And that might be the number one quote I've heard from him, besides we're going to run the crap out of the ball. That's my other favorite. But having practice for coaches just as much as it is for players is such a big deal to me. That means they're going to be held accountable. That means even though you maybe you're a coach that's been around, like Tim Banks, Larry Porter, just for examples. They've been around. They've done this. They're not new to the game. They don't really need people telling them what to do. But at the same time, I think there's going to be a standard that has to be met, and I really like that. I really, really like that. I think that is one of these steps that has to be taken for Auburn football to be better, to play better football. Until you ever get to the talent portion of it, this stuff has to change, right? That's the culture change. So, I'm really excited to see all these new guys, new faces. I'm going to have a roster at practice because I promise you, as good as I am with names, and I'm really good with them, I can remember them. That's why I'm pretty good at what we do here, because it's just a skill that I grew up with for some reason. I thought it would never help me in life, but here we are. Thank goodness for that. I'm going to have a roster out there. I do not know all the names. I do not know all the numbers. I don't know all the faces yet, which is rare. And that's going to be exciting. I do want to touch on recruiting a little bit before we get into the film. A little quiet right now with recruiting. Now, by the time you're watching this, I'll be in Atlanta talking to some kids at the Under Armour camp, the annual Under Armour camp that we'll go to every year, and usually get some good intel out of that. It's different this time because it's pushed back into March. It's usually in February, and then of course the cycle's moving so much faster than it usually is. So these guys are like, I'm not going to say they're in decision mode, but they're making their official visits. They've already got them. These are my 4 schools. These are my 5 schools. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty a little bit, and I can't wait to talk to some of these guys and see them in action against, top competition. And there's going to be a lot of guys there. I want to say this, what I've noticed so far with the strategy of recruiting for this staff as we get closer and closer to OV season, which is going to be commitment season, of course. Even though they have cast a wide net out there, the guys that they're really putting the heat on and pushing for, it feels like a small group to me. It doesn't feel like they're really putting the heat on 50 guys. It's more like 20. And in years past, it seems like this guy's a huge target. This guy's a huge target. They're pushing for this one. They're pushing for guys that, you know what, they're probably not going to land them. It's worth it, though, to be in it here and to give it a shot. It's always worth it. I think the staff believes in that, but they also believe in, you know what, I think we have the best shot with these 20. These are the ones we're going to put all of our effort into, and the effort goes out. Don't get me wrong. I mean, effort has not been a problem with this staff. I've seen that as a problem before, and I'm not talking about the Hugh Freeze staff. I'm really not even talking about the full staff, just more so the differences in the recruiting strategies. But this staff, effort is not going to be the reason they don't land people. If there's going to be a reason they don't land their top guys, it's probably going to be money, if I had to guess, because of their value system and how that might play out with high school guys versus portal guys. We've gotten into that a little bit, but I really don't know how to explain it all yet until I see it all play out. And I've seen the portal play out for them, and they spent the money on Byron Brown. They felt like that was the big investment, and then everything else falls into place. They get offensive linemen. And I wouldn't call it patchwork. I think they found some guys that have a lot of potential. They found some guys that have experience. That's a big thing. So they did a good job with it. And I think money, they spent the money that was needed. They're not going to go get the top 5 guys in the portal. And I don't think they're going to do that in the high school class. And you don't have to. You really don't have to win. But so I do think there's a smaller base. It's a big net, but it's maybe just a smaller push for the top prospects, or a smaller group of top prospects that they're pushing for, I should say. That's what it feels like to me at this point. And for that reason, I'm going to give you some names that I think could be potentially in this class. I'm not going to call this a mock class. We're not going to go there yet. That's not smart on my part. If you're in my position, or in Jeffrey's position, or Allen, or anybody that covers recruiting, Caleb Jones, you don't need. I mean, you could try it. You go ahead, but if you want to get ridiculed later on in this cycle, that's a good way to do it. But a couple guys, I got a list here, and I'll roll through it here with you. These are guys, if I was still using the same RPM strategy that I was using maybe 3 years ago, I'd probably have one in for these guys right now. See, my RPM strategy has changed. RPM, by the way, is recruiting prediction machine. This is the same thing as your crystal ball predictions. I've been up and down on those. I've had some good ones, had some bad ones. Had some really good ones back in the DeMarcus Riddick's, Joe Phillips, Eric Winters. Put those in super early because the vibe from the staff was, you ain't beating us for these guys. Got to have them. They are must-gets. And with this staff, I don't know if that's going to be their strategy yet. Plus, things have changed a lot since that time. Keep that in mind, okay? So I don't know yet. And I'm a little hesitant, to be completely honest with you, on just throwing out RPM predictions. It's a different time we're in. So anyway, if I'm still following that same strategy, I will let you. These are guys that I would consider putting one in for right now. Carlos May. I definitely have considered putting an RPM prediction in for him for Auburn. I think the reasons he is really close with Donovan Moore. They're both from that Birmingham area. They kind of grew up knowing each other. They're closer now because they've been on recruiting visits together. I think that's a big deal in this recruitment. Guys are, package deals that rarely ever works out. But the trump card I think Auburn's going to have in this one is going to be Vontrell King-Williams. We're seeing every day, I think, in recruiting that keeping Vontrell King-Williams, keeping DJ Durkin, boy, that's going to be big for this cycle in particular and moving forward. But for this cycle, you're going to get some of these big names for that reason. To me, Carlos May is a very big name. He is lower ranked than Donovan Moore. He's number 308 nationally by industry rating, the Rivals industry ranking, which is Rivals 24/7 ESPN all averaged together. Rivals just came out, put him in the top 300, in the top 100 at number 78. So they have a high opinion of him. Auburn has a high opinion of him. So anyway, I would definitely put one in for Carlos May right now. I like where things stand there for Auburn. The next one is an Alabama commit from Mobile Viger. Jabarius Garor goes by Chicken, in case you didn't know. 4-star guy. I like him as a pass rusher. I think he is a very natural pass rusher. He's light, 6'2", 215. I think that's probably pretty accurate. He might be a little taller than 6'2", but this guy is not heavy. He's not like one of those freakish edge guys that you see with all the length and, but he is a natural pass rusher. It's the reason why Alabama was on him so early, got him committed. I personally think that commitment is a little bit shaky. I've been hearing that for a while. I think he's looking at all of the schools that are on him pretty hard, and Auburn's one of those. I actually think that Auburn's got maybe a rising chance here to flip him or eventually get him in the class. So I think he's one to watch moving forward. He's going to take official visits. He's going to take a spring visit to Auburn. He's got a good relationship with Coleman Hutzler. He's got a good relationship with Vontrell King-Williams, DJ Durkin. I think relationships, close to home, staying in state, I think it matters to him. So a lot of factors working for Auburn here. I would consider one for Chicken. Another guy I could see in the class is Caleb Spivey, who was at Carver, originally was at Benjamin Russell with guys like Malcolm Simmons and Cedarian Morgan. He got an offer from Auburn when he was in 9th grade. I went to see him at Benjamin Russell. I actually went to see Malcolm Simmons and Cedarian Morgan play at Benjamin Russell. Saw this guy. This guy was making plays all over the field. I was like, man. Asked the coach about him after the game, talked to him. The very next day, he gets an offer from Vontrell King-Williams. It was his first one. So I think that matters in this recruitment. I think he is, even though, he's a 3-star right now, probably going to stay in that range because he's undersized, 6'1", 235, I think is pretty accurate. He is not, again, like Garor, not going to be your first-round draft pick edge, more than likely, because of the size. A little bit sawed off, I think, is a term that I've heard before. Not just because he plays for Carver, though. His tape reminds me a lot of Quay Russaw coming out of high school. He's got that same just ball tracking ability, head hunter. He can make plays from sideline to sideline. He could probably play stand-up linebacker, but has that natural bend coming off the edge. I think in college, Caleb Spivey is going to be a lot like Quay Russaw. Where does he fit exactly? Is he a box linebacker? Is he an edge? Do you walk him down, or maybe he's a little bit of both, which I think is what they do with Quay Russaw. So I think he's a similar kind of prospect. I don't know if he's that caliber exactly. He's up there, though. I think his tape is pretty special, and Auburn thinks the same thing. Virginia Tech is in on this one too, I believe. James Franklin over there. Duke. I have the utmost respect for Manny Diaz after meeting him at a Saraland game last year. I think he knows how to find talent. Duke has been pretty good under him. So anyway, Caleb Spivey, a little bit under the radar, but I think this is a guy you could definitely track and could end up with Auburn before it's said and done. He's got a really good relationship with Alex Golesh. Alex Golesh is he's going to see him twice, I believe, and they've kind of hit it off. Alex Golesh seems to like him a lot. Got to give some love, man, to Dylan Moore, the younger brother of Donovan Moore. If you hadn't heard about him, I wrote about him not too long ago. I would expect him in the class. I think that he's got a spot, a roster spot for Auburn. 6'4", 315. You see there, he's a big kid, a little bit bigger than Donovan. I think he's heavier than Donovan, but they are built very similarly. They got the same length. They got the same frame going on. So, shoot, yeah, I think Auburn takes a shot on this guy. I think anybody recruiting Donovan probably recruits Dylan too, and that's how that kind of goes. So I would expect him to be in the class at some point. Another Alabama commit is on my list for guys I would potentially put an RPM in if things weren't the way they are, man. You got to understand that. But Nash Johnson, I think his first name is Levi. I'm not sure. He goes by Nash. McEachern, Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know if Auburn's ever gotten any football recruits from McEachern, but I believe that's where maybe a basketball recruit has gone. I'm not entirely sure. If you don't know about this feature, by the way, on Rivals, the high school pages is an elite feature, and a lot of our people on the corner are starting to figure this out. And, I mean, you can spend hours looking at this stuff. Not only does it give you their national rank for McEachern High School in Powder Springs, Georgia, gives you their state rank, their record from last year, here's all their scores, gives you their current roster and guys who are being recruited or committed or just prospects, right? Then it gives you their notable alumni, Chuma Edoga, right? 5-star offensive tackle who plays for the Jets now or got picked by the Jets. Yeah, so I just think those pages are amazing. But Nash Johnson, I think Auburn's got a shot here. Maybe, again, a rising shot to flip him from Alabama. Now, I haven't talked about him on this show yet, but DeMarcus Van Dyke, guys, he's got a shot to be one of the best recruiters on the staff, if he's not already. I mean, he's still sort of an up-and-comer. I mean, he's a young guy. He's cutting his teeth on this level at that position, coaching corners, recruiting for that position. Obviously, he was at USF. They brought him over immediately. It was never a question. That's our guy for cornerbacks coach, and he's hit the ground running on the recruiting trail. I've heard nothing but good things. Just talking to people, going out on the road a few times, man, they are just impressed with him. Even skeptics, there are skeptics out there about this staff and if they can make it at Auburn. They've said, yeah, but you know that DeMarcus Van Dyke guy, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. So I've been impressed with what I've heard about DeMarcus Van Dyke. I've been impressed with his pool of prospects that he seems to be in it for. I think Nash Johnson, absolutely Auburn's in it. Chance to flip, yes, I would say yes for sure. Moving forward, he's going to obviously official visit Auburn. I think he'll be there in the spring as well, pretty soon in the next week or two. I would say he's one to watch. This one's an obvious one. You've heard a lot about him at this point. Israel Abrams. I think right now he's your best shot at quarterback for this class. Obviously, Will Menzel. I would not put in an RPM prediction for Auburn for Will Menzel. I would for Israel Abrams. That's where I'm at with the quarterback thing right now. I think there's an outside chance Jamison Roberts could still be your guy at the end of the day, even though he has just committed to Oklahoma. But obviously that one trending down at the moment for Auburn. This one has been the constant from the time the staff took over to now. I think it continues to be that way. I think right now he is the best option to land in Auburn's class as quarterback. And I really do think they're wanting to move that pretty quickly because, you know, I mean, it seems like they want to build the class around a quarterback like this. Makes sense. That's been the strategy. We've seen that several times. Last staff struggled with that a little bit, and maybe not for strategy reasons, but just because, you know, getting Deuce Knight away from Notre Dame and different things that went on there. But I do think Auburn maybe is trying to speed up his clock now. I think he's going to take his official visits first in the summer. Purdue and Auburn are the two schools we're hearing about the most. Maybe Kentucky is making a move as well, but I think Andre Adams might end up at Kentucky. So as these quarterback dominoes play out right now, I like this one falling for Auburn, as does Jeffrey Lee, Steve Wiltfong, Chad Simmons. That's where the trend is now. You have to say it like that with quarterbacks, man, because you just don't know. You just don't know. Quarterback dominoes is a wild, wild thing. You know how I feel about quarterback recruiting, but that RPM makes sense to me right now. All right, here's another one. Yes, this guy is big time. Again, sort of that borderline 4-star. He's not a 4-star with rivals. He's just under that. Number 31 interior offensive lineman. But when you average everything together, he's the number 17 interior offensive lineman and the number 259 player in the country. Reed Ramsire. I think a lot of this kid. I think he's a very, very good offensive lineman. He's going to be SEC starter level. I mean, that type of guy, right? And it looks like he is going to, well, I say that. Miami is heavily involved here. Clemson is heavily involved here. His original top 5 was Texas, Miami, Florida, Auburn, mostly those. I can't remember everybody, but Auburn was not. Alabama was. Auburn was not in his original top 5. I think Auburn has not only joined his top 5, I think he's on record saying Auburn's like top 2, right? Miami has been up there. Clemson, I think, has jumped in there recently on a report from Chad Simmons or Steve Wiltfong. Forgive me on whoever that was, but I've seen that recently. So what's happening here? Auburn is becoming sort of the constant with Reed Ramsire. It makes sense. Tyler Hudanick, Coach Hoodie, offensive line coach. This was his first offer. He called him the day he got the job. Hey, you got the offer. You're my top guy. You're one of my top guys. I'm calling you first. Let's get this thing moving. I need you on campus. You already know me. You know Coach Golish. You know a lot of these guys. We're at Auburn now. Come check us out. I know Auburn wasn't in your top 5. It's about to be. I mean, a lot of confidence going into this one from the staff. They felt like they built a relationship with Reed Ramsire and had a chance from the moment they took the job at Auburn. You know, obviously going to be hard to get him at USF. But, you know, even at USF, they did not back down from the big recruiting battles. They got Jonathan Eccles from Tennessee. We've talked about that, a 4-star tight end, flipped him late. That was a big deal. They got they were going to get Brian Williams to flip from Alabama, it sounds like. I mean, they called him once, hey, we're going to Auburn. He goes, I'm in, say less. And I think he was going to flip to USF anyway. So maybe Alabama wasn't going to try to hold on to him too much, but still, guys, that's a big deal. I mean, it's pretty impressive what they're doing there. Fred Gaskin, that's another guy. Had a lot of offers, including one from Auburn. Don't know how hard Auburn pushed for him back in that time, but had an offer. I mean, had some other big offers. He was 4-star territory, if not just a straight up 4-star. He ends up going to USF. They had some big ones. And not just portal. I'm talking about from high school. So they built this relationship with Reed Ramsire. I'm really feeling like Auburn is surging big time in this recruitment, and I'm starting to be a believer that they can get this one done. Long way to go. A lot of competition. Miami, of course, and Clemson starting to peak in there a little bit. I think Alabama and Texas and all those schools are still involved too, so don't count any of those out. But I'd watch Auburn here. I really like the trend with him lately. And then this is the last one. Yeah, there he is. Quintarius Gibson, Mooney, he goes by. I think Auburn I really believe Auburn's going to get multiple running backs in this class. Now, they're probably going to hold out for the transfer portal, so we'll see how the numbers play out. But I think if Auburn is going to get multiple running backs in this class, and I think it's possible, this is a guy to immediately watch. I would not be surprised if Auburn is the leader for Mooney Gibson right now. The other school, Virginia Tech. You're going to hear a lot more about the Hokies in the coming cycles because of James Franklin. That guy's legit on the recruiting trail. And, I think his evaluations have been fine. I don't think he ever was bad at Penn State, just not quite to the standard they wanted after years of getting him a chance to win some of those bigger games. Didn't get it done. But look, I do not question the resume of James Franklin. Of course, I think Auburn interviewed him when they were looking for a head coach. And I think a lot of people would have been cool with that. So anytime Virginia Tech is in the mix and they're pushing for somebody, and I think Virginia Tech is making some waves here with Mooney Gibson, I respect it. So I already liked Mooney Gibson anyway. That means a lot to me. Auburn, I think, has been choosy, particular about running back. Obviously, we know a lot about Myson Johnson-Cook and where Auburn stands on him, at least the way they view him. We think he's way up there on the board. Gibson, I think, is also on the board pretty high. I think, again, if it's a multiple running back situation, I would potentially put in a prediction for Auburn here. Don't know how that's going to play out yet, though. Can they get Myson Johnson-Cook? If they can, we'll see. This is kind of where it's at, but he would make sense for an RPM, right? That's kind of how we have to do it now. But those are the names: Carlos May, Jabarius Chicken Garor, Caleb Spivey, Dylan Moore, the brother of Donovan Moore, Israel Abrams, Nash Johnson, Reed Ramsire, and Mooney Gibson. Those are the names that I kind of like right now for Auburn. I could see all those guys ending up in the Tigers class. So just wanted to walk through that with you. We'll probably have some more write-ups on those guys, but I think those make the most sense right now. I couldn't think of anybody else. Maybe Deshaun Hall from Prattville. Elijah Brown, you could easily put him in there. I'm still trying to figure out the whole defensive line situation. So, those are the ones that make the most sense to me right now. So let's get into some film here. I got to share my screen right here. I got some new tools, man, that I'm going to try to – you're going to have to forgive me. I know I'm going to be rusty on this. It's been a minute since I've done a film room. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I do want to walk through some of these plays and just talk through their offense a little bit and show it to you and just kind of how they maneuver through a game. And this was a big game. This was week one, and I hope to go through every game, assuming everything's on YouTube. I've done the first 3 games for USF so far on our board at Auburn Sports. If you're not a member, you probably enjoy the crap out of this. Of course, we are going to go through it on here too. And the corner and the bunker eat first with this show, way before YouTube. Just saying. So this was the first game of the season. I've done the second game, which they won against Florida, and I've done the third game, which they got beat by Miami. All very important for us moving forward. We're going to learn a lot from that. So I will do my best because I don't know the terminology about this offense as well as I had figured out, of course, Freeze's offense. I mean, I studied it for a long time, knew about it beforehand. Just got to see a lot of reps of it. So I'm learning. We're going to talk through it. That's my strategy. I'm not telling you everything as if I know it all because I certainly do not. I'm going to talk through it with you. So let's talk through it. I'm going to start with this play here. Make sure our sound's off. All right, so the first thing that you have to point out when you're watching USF on tape, which, of course, is going to be Auburn soon. This is what it's going to look like. And check this out. Got a spotlight now. I think you can see that. Pretty cool, right? All right, so right here, this is what – when I say the numbers, when I'm writing this out on the board and you're reading it, and I say they're outside the numbers, I mean this, the 40. The 30, the 50, those are the numbers on the field, right? And then you have the hashes. A normal alignment, if you have a slot receiver, which they have 3 here, this you would be around the hash or on the hash, sometimes even inside the hash or outside the hash, but not that far out. It's funky, and they want it to be that way on purpose. Whereas Hugh Freeze and everything they did from that offense was – our base is 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. We're going to run everything out of this. Everything runs out of this. And every time you load the box, we throw the screens. That's not the operation here whatsoever. And I think that's the biggest difference. The operation here is we're going to make you line up to a different look all game long. We're going to put them outside the numbers. We're going to put them on the hash. We're going to, get in 11. We're going to get in 10 personnel, 12 personnel. I got formations on top of formations for you. And good luck lining up to it. That's the biggest thing, because then we hit you with tempo. We'll get in a different formation. You got to figure out how to line up to it. And it's all about the element of surprise, a lot like Gus Malzahn's offense was in a way, but with way more formations. And, of course, the wide alignment. This is important in this offense. Even this guy, he's pretty far aligned. He's pretty wide out here too. And boy, do they love to play the game with the single receiver. They love to run trips, right? And then put a receiver on this side by himself and then play a game with this guy. They love it. I love it. It's what you wanted with Cam Cohen more. It's what you wanted with Malcolm Simmons and guys like that. You wanted that more. Unfortunately, those guys aren't here anymore, but they got guys who can do it. I think Chaz Nimrod's been really good at this, especially early in the season before he got hurt. But, I think the number one thing, or at least what I'm trying to see here and learning, is they're really messing with this guy. Where are you going to put this guy? And this is like your safety, but this is an overhang alley player in a sense. He's more like it's safety depth, but he's in the alley. The alley, for those who don't know, is the space between your tackle and your receiver. And what they've done with this alignment is open that alley up way more than people are used to. So then this guy's like, okay, I am just in grass all the time. Like, where exactly do I get in the box? Do I play over these receivers? And then I'm having to decide, because they're running your RPO stuff all the time, are they going to throw it out there and I'm having to chase, or do I have to come help? And there's a lot of grass he's got to worry about, basically. And I love that. I think that's really cool. So this was the first play. It's not a good play. And I think a lot of that is because this long windup from Byron Brown, it takes a while. But they also didn't block the guy. And if you don't block the guy, well, it ain't going to work. But he goes to the screen here because of the numbers. Again, the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the box. And you have this safety over here, but he's flying out with your motion guy. But the box is way more loaded. They got 2 blockers over here for one guy, essentially. And get the ball out quick, which he doesn't really get it out very quick here. This is one of the first throws of the season, so that's part of it. But you see the idea. It's a numbers game. They didn't block the one guy. 2 guys did not block the one guy on this play. So that was the issue. All right, but you understand the alignment. We don't have to talk about the alignment too much after that. I wanted to show it to you first. All right, so I want to point out the pass pro on this one. I thought this was just an excellent job for your now center. Now, he gets sacked, but it ain't because of the work that Cole Best does. Cole Best does a great job here. All right, that's your center. Cole Best, he will be Auburn's starting center. I'm almost positive. I'm probably 98% sure he's going to be your starting center. And he's going to do a great job here in his pocket on this drop protection. All right, so he almost falls in love with the guy going to his A gap on his right side right here. You see he's starting to turn his shoulders, but he keeps square when he makes contact. He keeps a good base, right? And then pops himself off to this other A gap. Boom, taken care of. Now his guard did nothing here, number 78. He did not help. He's supposed to be able to pick that guy up. Cole Best is right here. He does a great job picking up both of his gaps. Because remember, in drop protection, you're responsible for both of your gaps. You're not just responsible for a guy. In fact, that's how Auburn got in trouble a lot, because they thought they were. Sometimes it looked like. That's not how it works. You're responsible for gaps. And in drop protection, it's both gaps, your right and your left. And in this case, his 2 gaps here are the A gaps. For those who don't know, gaps, the 2 gaps beside the center are the A gaps. The gaps between tackle and guard are B gaps, and then outside the tackle is C gap. Okay? So anyway, I thought this was a really good pass protection rep. Even though Byron Brown gets sacked, it's because of the right guard and the right tackle messing that up. But center Cole Best does a good job. He just gets the job done. He's not flashy. Gets the job done pretty well, though. All right. Here's another RPO. They like the RPO game. That's sort of their base, I would say. But whereas Auburn's RPO game was all about vertical, we're running this option route where I can either bend it back on a hitch or I can take you over the top with it. That was their big thing. This is not the case with this offense. This is all about screens. We like this again. We like this game where you got to decide what to do. How fast can you get to my screen? How fast can you get in the box and help? And in this case, they got a light box. But they got doubles this time, and this is 10 personnel, I believe. Doubles, unless you're counting him as a tight end. If that's the case, then it's 11 or 20. Anyway, I'm counting him as a receiver since he's lined up that way. It's 10 personnel. And he's coming across in motion. What does this guy do right here? He doesn't move, right? Doesn't move at all with that motion. So look at all this green grass. You got one blocker for one guy. The next closest two guys are these guys right here. Throw the screen all day. Even though it is a light box, this guy's now peeking into the box. So if you're Byron Brown, you're thinking about him. So these are the pre-snap decisions that Byron Brown's making in this offense, as opposed to all the things we went through with the previous offense and Jackson Arnold, Ashton Daniels, everybody that played it, right? So it's all pre-snap here. It's numbers. We're just playing the numbers game. And we're going to eke out as many yards as we can with the best numbers option. In this case, he goes with the screen. I think that's a good decision. Of course, he goes through the fake. It takes a little bit of time. You still get about 4 yards. It's a good first down play. Let me point out Keyshawn Singleton here is in front. This is going to be one of your best receivers for Auburn this year. Really nice blocking out there by him. Yep, that'll work. And then your guy that starts out at safety, staying over the top of that, comes down and makes the play. It's a little long developing. I think what they probably want to get to eventually, and remember this is the first game of the year, is, hey, let's not go through all that. Get that ball out there as soon as you make the numbers decision, right? I've seen them do this as it's gone forward, so they were getting better at this as it went. So, good tackle by this guy by Boise, but he had to come all the way down to make that play after the guy's already gotten 4 yards. So you see how that is sort of their base and what they want to do on first down and get the yardage. Saw Auburn do this a lot last year. This is mesh on third down, 3rd and 5. So you got a close slot this time. Of course, they're on this side of the field. He's going to run your mesh, which is a drag, and then he mesh, I think he does, or maybe he does, across. Either way, you have sort of a mesh point right in this area right here where they both meet. Somebody's got to take one, and it's just a good concept. I love it. Of course, I've noted many times Mike Leach was the master at the mesh. And I love it on this down and distance. And you can pretty much get the ball out pretty quick. Again, a lot of the time this offense is really limiting the offensive line being in straight up dog-eared pass rush situations. They really help their offensive line not have to deal with that too much. And I like that. I think that's going to be great for Auburn. All right, so there's your mesh right there. You see Keyshawn Singleton comes open really fast. Brown gives him a low ball. He's under pressure. There was a Boise brings, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 here. No, just 5, but they twist it up. They got some things coming. It gets through, and the reason is because of the left guard. He's got to pass off. But anyway, you get a low ball here to Keyshawn Singleton. He gathers it. Takes him a minute to get going. You'd like to see him get – again, this is the thing. I don't really see Keyshawn Singleton or some of these guys as just elite receivers or elite playmakers. They're just really solid. And he's short here because it takes him a minute to gather, and it's just not like that fluid athlete like maybe a Malcolm Simmons or somebody is all the time. Okay, now he's pretty good. You'll see that when he gets to the 50-50 ball situations, but something like this, not maybe as natural for him. He's a big guy, 6'3", 215. But you see this play was schemed up. I mean, it's schemed up to win here. They knew they were going to blitz. They knew they'd have that hot throw right over the blitz, and they just didn't quite convert, I don't think. Yeah, and then on 4th and short, I think that was not a good play call here for what they are. Try to go with the tush push. I'd rather you go like Cam Newton style. Let's run our QB run stuff. I just don't think that they had the offensive line to get pushed like that. You'd rather your big quarterback, Byron Brown, get some momentum coming downhill. But anyway, they don't convert there. All right, here's you another 3rd down. This was a big-time play. Trips. It's going to be trips. Let me just read this here. 3rd and 17, that, you know, for Auburn, these 3rd and longs, like you might as well just go ahead and get the punt team ready. It ain't happening. You can forget it. But they make this one happen. This is right at the end of the first quarter here. Again, all right, remember I told you this at the beginning. They love playing the game here with the single receiver. So they got trips over here. There's so much attention on it, right? Even this guy's dogged over here just a little bit. You can see he's looking at it. He's kind of backed. He's kind of one step maybe outside the box just to be able to help with it if he needs to. But they got 3 over 3 here, 3 for 3. And then they got 1 over 1. And he's backed off big time because obviously it's 3rd and 17. But this is the matchup they like to go to. And you can't really put another guy over this. It's going to be 1-on-1 when you get in this formation. Again, it's all about formation unless they take a guy off the front out of the pass rush. And they didn't do that. They got 4 here. So from the snap, Brown knows he's got something here. I'm looking at that first more than likely. We'll see. And then he runs a pretty good route. Chaz Nimrod throws it over the top, lays it out in the middle of the field. They got man on the top side there, so they're running with the guys, and they're not able to come over and make a play in the middle of the field. It's left to number 6, who's covering him single. Now, 21, where's he at? I don't even see him. I'm trying to figure out why that guy's not there. He's underneath it, but either way, you see what they're doing here. This is the game. Single you up, let the guy go run a good route. Let's put a good ball on him. Makes a good play. Nimrod, big play receiver that is at Auburn now. All right, this is another one. They get Nimrod singled up again. This play is actually, it's not an RPO, but they have 2 different options here. And I think they went to tempo here, which is something they do a lot. Again, you see this wide alignment here, way out there to the sideline. Okay. Then you got 3 over here. And again, they go 3 over 3 because you have to. They got a safety sitting in between the hashes. As soon as he sees that he's inside the hash and there's nothing but green grass here, he knows he's going to have a hard time getting there. He's going to have to run his tail off to get there, basically. So he's just going to run down the sideline. It's not a straight line. Hang on. Better. Down the sideline like that. Over here, they've got a quick screen. 2 blockers. You got 3 over 3, which means you got 2 blockers for 3 defenders. That's not the right read. Pre-snap, he's got to be thinking that. He is. And he goes to his single matchup. Over the top. Overthrown. Again, he's a little bit juiced. First game of the season. This is they're in the second quarter. Only had a couple drives at this point. Got to hang in there and make that throw, right? But look at Nimrod. He's got a step. That's a good route. All of those things are good. The overthrow is not good, but I haven't seen him do this much. This is one of the few times I've seen this so far. They usually make the most out of it. And again, Boise blitzes on them. They get it off. Pretty good job by the back here, number 5. Norton, I believe is his name. They understand their protections. Sometimes they get beat. They just get beat one-on-one by guys that are maybe a little bit more talented, but they understand their protections. You'd love to see him hit that, but either way, good play. They schemed it up. That was what they were going for. Love this play call. Speed option. So it's speed option, right? He's pitching off of this guy right here, the stand-up end. He's the pitch guy. And this guy plays out to the back. So you're going to see Byron Brown keep it. And this is on 3rd and 6. Kind of a gutsy little play call here. Again, here's your 1, 2, 3 over 3. Safety's now on the hash. Now that they're on this side, he's kind of staying over the center here, staying right over the formation. And you got the wide alignment out there again. So same look for the most part here, and they run the speed option. Get Byron Brown running downhill. That's good stuff. Look at Chaz Nimrod at the top of your screen. Get you some of that. Yeah. Nimrod was a soccer player, by the way. He was kind of new to football coming into Tennessee when he went there. I don't know if he was a walk. I don't think he was a walk-on, but he wasn't a highly rated recruit, I don't believe. Still kind of learning the game, but so speedy, fast guy. They wanted to get him in the game, but he's really become a physical football player. Under this staff, he found some physicality, and I love it. This was a great decision by Brown. I love the play. That guy plays all the way out, number 5 for Boise. You see him there. It's old school football right here. Speed option. Yes. Love that play call on 3rd and 6. Let's show a pass pro right here. This is a double A gap blitz. I don't remember how they do it. Let me watch it through real quick. Yeah. So basically what they're doing here, remember, are gaps. Your A gaps are between center and guard. He's going to go to this gap, and then he's going to cross and go to this A gap. Double A. Cole Best, once again. Boom. Pretty good. And then the back takes the other A gap. They have the back end for this one for that reason. Really nice. And they needed a little time there. This one's dropped by Christian Neptune. This was his first target of his career as a freshman in the first game of the season. I'll cut him some slack. He ain't going to do that much anymore. The dude was solid all year. You'll see as we go through this. But just a little drag. I think this is an option route or a choice route by Christian Neptune right here. So he's just going to like show this and then come across. And it's not that, it's more of a drag really. I think he's got the option maybe to sit down right here, or he could maybe keep it going, I think. But he turns it into a drag based on what he sees, if I'm right. And there it is. Easy access throw. He just dropped it. But I thought that was a really nice blitz pickup. And I do think that their offensive line was overmatched sometimes, but they understood how to do it. They understood how to pass protect their assignments. Pretty assignment strong. I love that. That's the biggest thing to me. You got to get that right way before you get to the talent portion of it. I believe you got to get that right because Auburn had the talent, I believe, on the offensive line, and they just left gaps wide open, running free. All right, so incomplete pass, but another really good pass protection rep for them. Cole Skinner is at right guard, number 56. I think he's not doing a bad job here. He actually does a really good job, and I'll show you why. So Skinner's right here where my cursor is. 56, right guard. he is going to take on this first guy. Okay, remember, it's drop protection. I believe it is. That's what it looks like to me. He takes on this first guy, but remember, you're not blocking a guy in these protections. You have your gaps. So he has B gap and A gap here. A gap to his left, B gap to his right. Picks up this guy, passes him over to number 71, picks up this twister. You got a twist by Boise. 95's coming through B, picked up by Skinner. And he's getting run through a little bit, but getting the hat on it, that's what buys that extra time. This is what Auburn did not have last year, right? They'd let that gap just be open. There you go. Run on through. And no time. Quarterback's got a guy in his face. What's he supposed to do with that? Nothing. But Skinner gets in the way. Smart football. It's good stuff. Good protection. All right. Don't have to break the play down too much here. It's kind of like outside zone, which looks, instead of like you're trying to reach here. Reach. It may be the other way. I think it's this way. Sorry. Reaching. Outside zone. But this is that lasso play is what I've called it. It's what we called it at Huntington. So you have a blocker. It looks like split zone where he would usually kick. But in this case, he's arc releasing and he's picking up first threat. And it's for the quarterback pull. Should he pull it, he's got a lead blocker. I call it a lasso because it's like a lasso, right? All right, so you see there, he picks up that good block by number 8 right there. Brown likes to pull it here. I think that's the right decision. Boom. Get out of my way. You ain't tackling me. 1-on-1. You corner coming down. You can forget it. Love it. If you think this won't work in the SEC, I would probably argue that. I think it will. If a corner tries to come down and tackle this guy, he will barrel down his shoulder. Maybe he doesn't break the tackle as well against a guy in the SEC, but he's going to run him over. He's going to make him feel it. I'm all about that. I think that wears on a defense, and I think Brown can wear you out in that way. That play should excite you a little bit. All right, this is a throw on a little dig here, and they went tempo on a show. They almost didn't even get it. And not a great pass protection rep. Not bad. I mean, they have hats on everybody. They pick everybody up. The running back gets run through, or excuse me, the H-back does. But the tempo here, I mean, Boise didn't get lined up, and they bring a blitz 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that leaves the middle of the field wide open, and they just happen to have the perfect play for it. Or is it a choice route? That's what I asked myself. I don't know for sure because I'm still learning. I'm going to have to ask some people and get some better understanding on this. I don't know for sure if this is a choice route by him, if he can keep it going, or if he can cut it in, which here he does cut it in. This guy's leaving too. And this big old space out here, right? Cuts in, strike, right on the numbers. Good run after the catch, extra yards, big time play. Keyshawn Singleton. Byron Brown, look at him too. There's pressure here. Hang on. Pressure. Look at the pressure around him. Stands in strong. He knows that route's coming open over the middle of the field. He's confident about it. Very important. And again, they got the chemistry. They're going to know what to do in these situations. I think that's a big deal. You almost have to decide if you're a defense, do I blitz them? I mean, is that the right move? They got these option routes. They can hit them. This quarterback stands in the pocket, whatever, right? All right, this is a crosser to Jeremiah Coger. He makes his first appearance of the season. And they consider that an incomplete pass after review. He got lucky because I thought it was a fumble. Again, this is his first touch ever as a freshman in the opener. So I give him a little leniency, and he gets better at this, obviously. You got got to tuck that ball away. He figures it out later after that hit. Sometimes getting a hit like that on the very first play is a great thing for you. But this is like a rub. And I love the play call here on 2nd and 10. I love this route. It's so you got here, and Coger's not on your screen. He's over in this area here. This guy, he's going to run at like the safety and this guy and run them off the best that he can, and just run full speed, try to run at them, run them off. And then Coger's going to come underneath, and it's like a natural rub. Okay. Boom. There it is. It's a great throw by Brown. Got to hold on to it. Youngster. Again, he gets better at that. And then this was a scramble for a touchdown by Byron Brown right here. Offensive line getting run through a little bit. Brown can make a little Superman play every once in a while. Poor number 0. Doesn't he wish he wasn't there at that moment? Brown seeked him. He seeked him out. He was like, let me finish this run. Bam! Off me, son. Anyway, pass protection here. I'm not entirely sure if it's slide. It might be slide protection. I don't want to go that far with it. I'm not entirely sure, but the A gap gets a little bit exposed because Cole Best has to turn and run with this guy. He gets a little behind with him. The back is in the hole, but he sort of whiffs, and that created some pressure. But, then you have this freight train coming downhill at you. So that's the kind of stuff that should excite you about Byron Brown. All right, so this is an interesting thing, and I want to make a point about this. Cole Best here gets run through bad. He gets put on his behind, right? You know what? It's still better than what I saw at Auburn last year sometimes. At least he's in the right place in order to slow the guy down. I mean, the guy's bearing down on Byron Brown, yes, and he knocks him on his butt, and you never want to see that. But he stays tight here. He's not turning his shoulders and looking for work. He knows if I just keep dropping in my hole, I'll stay tight, I'll get in the way at least. And he gets caught off guard by this guy a little bit. But he gets in the way, and it's just half a second that gives Brown time to release this football, which is dropped by number 8. But, again, you got another open receiver. It's a big deal, and he's just like a little sit-down in the hole there. But you get what I'm saying. He gets in the way. Cole Best gets knocked on his tail, but he's sitting in the right place and slows it down just enough. And when you're not having guys running wide open through open gaps, you buy more time. That's just logic. Okay. I like this play. Starred this one just because I love the thought process. Short yardage, I think they learned from earlier. Don't get in this tush push thing. Let's get downhill. This is going to be just inside zone with your H-back, so split zone. He's going to kick. Split zone is a great short yardage run play. I love it. It's terrible by number 18, the H-back here, but at least he gets a hat on him and does enough for number 5 to get through there. Good conversion on 3rd and 1. All right, we're going to wind this up here soon. A few more plays. So they go stagnant at this point in the game. You see we passed a lot of plays here. There were just not much going on. They punted a couple times, and the game's still tied, I believe, at this point. And, no, excuse me, South Florida has a 3-point lead, and Alex Golesh pulls this one out and says, all right, we got to have a spark. And I can respect that. I think that's a big deal. This was the turning point of the game. Boise State never had a chance after this. They completely stole the momentum with this game, and you have to love when a coach takes a risk like that. This is what I mean by punching up, where South Florida is the underdog in this game. You're not going to act like You just don't play conservative when you're the underdog. It's just not a great strategy. Punch up, okay? You have to have aggression. You have to go for the throat. You got to try to hit them with daggers, element of surprise, all this stuff. I think that is such an important strategy. So what they do here, this is a punt, fake punt. This is Lachlan Hewlett. They sneak him in as the punter. He's not the punter. They didn't know who he was yet. Boise didn't. First game of the year, he's a freshman. They probably didn't know what jersey number he was. They just thought it was a punter. So this was genius. And then he throws it. Pretty good ball. I mean, it's underthrown, but it's a long ball. It's a long throw. Gets it to Singleton. Singleton takes it to the his. Makes guys miss. Gosh, you love that. That's a big, big, big play. Credit to the coaches there, man. That was a great time for that. Completely changed the outcome of the game. You got to do those. Don't let the other team decide the outcome. You decide it if you're the underdog like that. Here's another bomb to Nimrod. Play action. They go tempo here. Bomb. Nimrod's going to get separation. That's a perfect throw. Right on. Dropped it right in the bucket. It's just a post. Look at how many guys Boise brings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a late one, 6. They got like 2 more guys creeping in at the end. So it's single coverage all the way. Got one safety in the middle, but he's taken away by the underneath crosser by Koger. Nimrod over the top. Beautiful. And again, tempo. That's how they help themselves a lot with the tempo. This was an impressive play. Here's your outside zone lasso again. So coming across, he's going to arc release like a lasso. He's going to pull it again. Look at this. That is a beautiful head fake, man. He's got a lot of ability as a ball carrier. A lot. They got to use it. I don't know how expendable he is. They got to use it to win. It's got to be there. That head fake is nasty. He was running out of real estate. God. And that was nice. I love that play. That's how you make somebody miss right there. Okay. I think that's about it. This was the last drive. They got a big lead at this point. It's not the last drive, but the last relevant drive because they've got such a big lead, 24-7 at this point. I just want to show what now that they've got the lead, they're not really going conservative, but they are getting back to their base stuff. They're still going tempo. All right. Base stuff is what I would consider. And they have a tight end here. So again, different formation than what we've seen. They got a tight end and it's trips on this side and they run their little screen. And they also have a run play here. They could hand off, but technically 2 over 3. They got 2 blockers for 2 and they go for it. Not a huge play, but pretty good play on first down. And then they go tempo on the next play. Keyshawn Singleton gets thrown here. You got to do a better job than that. Can't wait on the guy. Got to go get him. All right. They go tempo, I believe, into the next play, or at least they got a good pace. They're not necessarily going NASCAR, but then they go back to your little quick screen, and it's outside zone, RPO with a quick screen. They take the numbers game again. That is Chaz Nimrod in front blocking his tail off. Number 6 for them was pretty good. Mudia Rubin. All right, look, he's getting the ball spotted. They go to the next play. Touchdown. And that's how you take a commanding lead of a game. Put the nail in the coffin, it's over. This is like their little – it's kind of like split zone, but it's not a kick block. It's ISO, I think is what it is. He's going through B gap, and he's going to get the first thread, I think maybe this backer. I think it's like a plug play or ISO. That's what I've been calling it. I think it is, and you don't have a read, I don't believe. Yeah, no read for the quarterback. Everything's blocked up. you're basically locking the end here. So instead of going down underneath this guy, he's just going to block him and kick. He's going to block and kick. And then they, I think, work their combos in here. And this is a really nice play. Nice little run by 5. But look at the combo by your boys here. Your right guard and center, Cole Best and Cole Skinner. They combo this nose. Look at that. They've pushed him 3 yards off the ball. This back's got all kinds of space. He's got a one-on-one right here with this guy. He cuts inside, pinballs, touchdown. That's all she wrote. So there were a few more drives. And yeah, that was that play. There were a few more drives here, but we're not going to go through those. Let's stop sharing that. And hopefully you have an understanding now of what their offense is all about, what they're trying to accomplish, the numbers game they play. And we're going to, as I go along with this, I think I'm going to learn more about it and be able to explain it better. But there's the Boise game. They took care of business in that game, and I really like the strategy. I like the offensive formula. I like that they stay pretty true to the run game, to their RPO game, screen game, and then they're going to take their shots. And you got to cover a single receiver because that's what the alignment dictates. Because we got so many formations, good luck trying to figure out a good way to line up to all of them. Do you blitz? Do you not blitz? Are we going to hurt you on a blitz? They got it all in there. I think they pass protect pretty well. They know what to do with it. It's just solid, man. And I think it can help Auburn, this offense, as they get their feet wet, this staff with this season coming up, and they got enough players maybe to do some damage. I don't think they're going to be a 10-win team, but I think they can win 8. I think they can win some games. I think they can beat some teams that you won't expect them to beat, or that the national pundits don't expect them to beat. I think it can happen because the offense is sound. I like what I'm seeing from it. That's going to do it for this edition of Pink's Show. Appreciate y'all checking it out. Of course, Corner and Bunker, you eat first on this. It goes on YouTube later on. Me and Zach are going to hopefully we'll get a better schedule down, and I'm more consistent with this and stay consistent with it. And we walk through every game, and we have stuff to talk about every week. I know we will, as spring practice is right around the corner. So appreciate you guys for checking this out. Hope you learned something. And as always, never pass on a playmaker. See ya.